Welcome again. We have a story today about Abraham. Some of you that are in Little Logos may have heard the story before. If you're not in Little Logos, this will be a new story for you about Abraham. Abraham had faith in God, but he was worried. He was afraid because he didn't have any descendants. So he talked to God about this, and God said that Abraham would be protected and his reward would be great. Abraham may have wondered how he would be blessed with descendants since he and Sarah were very old and they still had no children. So Abraham asked God. God patiently replied that Abraham should count the stars in the night sky if he thought he could. There were many more stars than Abraham could count. God told him that was how many descendants he would have. And God used the stars to help Abraham understand that nothing was impossible for God. Abraham's faith in God and the promises God made to him were all Abraham needed to wait for God to fulfill the promises. While he waited, Abraham knew that God was with him. And I will also share another story about Abraham. This one is called Abraham, Friend of God. The story is by Penny Frank, and it's illustrated by Toni Morris. Abraham and Sarah were both very old, but still they had no children. God said to them, "Look at the grains of dust on the path. Look at the stars above your tent at night. One day your family will be as many as that, too many to count." And still Abraham trusted God. They were glad when they came into the new land because it had been such a long journey and they had no house to live in, so they lived there in their big tent. One day Abraham saw some men coming by and they told him that his wife Sarah was going to have a baby. But Sarah laughed and laughed, ah ha ha, ah ha ha, when she heard that. "It is too late," she said. "We are too old now." God was sorry that Sarah did not believe the men he had sent, but soon Sarah knew that the message was true. She was going to have a baby. "Perhaps nothing is too hard for God," she said. When the baby boy was born, Abraham and Sarah were very happy. They called him Isaac. God had kept his promise. And I will share with you one other story about Abraham. This one is from the Read With Me Bible. And it talks about when Abraham learned that he was going to have a family. So Abraham was 75 years old when he left the land of Haran. He took his wife Sarah and his nephew Lot, and they took all the things that they had and all the animals, and they set out for the land of Canaan. Then the Lord took Abraham outside and said, "Look up at the sky. Count the stars. That is how many children you will have." When Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord said, "Walk with me, live without blame. You will be the father of many nations. I will bless Sarah. She will have a son. Name him Isaac." The Lord was gracious to Sarah. He did for Sarah what he had promised to do. Sarah had a son, and Abraham named him Isaac. And you should have a sheet in your packets at home called God's Promise to Abraham. And so go ahead and you can push out your puzzle pieces and put them on the paper to complete the sheet for this week's session. Thank you. And today I'm going to share the song "Jesus Loves Me" with you. Jesus is one of the descendants, the many descendants of Abraham, and also a descendant from Naomi and Ruth.